Hello, everybody. Welcome to a stream with UJAM Instruments. We're here with Derek von Krogh. Derek, you want to say hello to everybody?
Hello, everybody.
So today we have the goal of reviewing submissions for the Spooky Synthwave Contest that Derek was also involved in terms of the voting process. And so there's a couple things I want to get done today. One is a little introduction segment for Derek. You might recognize his voice. Because he is the voiceover guy in the walkthrough, the infamous UJAM walkthrough videos. So I'll give a few minutes to Derek in a second to explain a bit about his involvement with UJAM and what he does professionally and his background. And then we'll start reviewing the top 10 submissions from the contest. I think there were over 140 or something. Derek might know the number. But we'll review them. We'll listen to the top 10. And I've never heard them. Derek has heard them and has voted on them. So we'll give our real-time kind of reactions and feedback to the tracks. And then we will, as we go down the list, we'll get to the top 5, which there are prizes for. So we'll announce those winners one by one as we listen to their tracks in real time. And I will also clarify again what the prizes were. There's kind of a lot of bundles and prizes, so I've got them written down in front of me. But that is the agenda for today. And if we have extra time, we will maybe take a look at the new Usynth titles that we just released, Dust, VORTEX, and WEBCORE. So if time permits, we will take a look. But this is about the contest, really, and also a little bit of a spotlight for Derek as he jumps in with us. So
oh my God.
So let's start there. So Derek, tell us, people probably know your walkthrough videos. They went dormant for a little while. We didn't make very many of them, and now there's a new one. So tell us a little bit about like your walkthrough video mentality, like when you used to make them, like why the cats? Like what is the
why? The big question is why?
I think people love them. So yeah, just a little bit of your creative energy would be good.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, thanks for having me, and also thanks for all the really, really nice feedback that we got over the time for all these walkthroughs, which are essentially just me doing whatever I want and just being silly to also, I mean, you know, really mainly entertain myself. So if the question is like, why are these walkthroughs like this? The really shortest and clearest answer is I've been a producer and nerd myself, and I've seen a million plugin demo videos and have been bored to death by most of them. So basically the only parameter that I use when I do these videos is like, what would I want to see in a plugin demonstration video? And, you know, be a little cheeky and just, you know, enjoy yourself in the process. I mean, it's about music, and music should be about enjoyment of the whole process. And because I like Star Trek and because I like cats, there's a lot of Star Trek puns and there's a lot of cats. And that's pretty much all there is to it. And
just a little personality.
Other than that, I make the music. I would very much like to give credit to Simon, who helped immensely with the last walkthrough, because I haven't had much time lately, so all the credit for music and stuff for the latest walkthrough goes to him.
Nice.
Before it was all a one-man process, where I basically did the talking, then the music, and at the end the video, and then to keep myself alive, cats.
Cats, yeah. Any bit of personality does definitely help some of those technical videos. I know what you're talking about. I've seen a lot of plugin reviews or like walkthroughs, and they're just kind of forgetting that we're humans that they're trying to sell to, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, you know, there's also sometimes feedback of like, yeah, this is not factually enough for me, or like, haha, you're trying to be funny, you're not funny. You know, that's all fair game, but the thing is, I mean, there's such a lot of demonstration videos, and there's like a no talking preset skip through. There's online manuals. There's like all these kind of sources. So you don't have to copy the virtues of those videos one by one. So I take a little bit of creative freedom.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I mean, most of the time we get really lovely feedback. So thanks again to anyone who watched. Super nice and super heartwarming, really.
Yeah, people definitely loved the walkthroughs, the whole period that we did them, and then there was actually feedback about us not doing them. Where did they go? Where the funny German guy?
Where's the guy with the bad accent?
Yeah. And then, but outside of the walkthroughs, you've made quite a lot of content for UJAM in different instruments.
That's true.
So you are, what do you call yourself musically? I mean, you're clearly a producer, a mix engineer, an arranger, an instrumentalist. Are you just kind of a jack of all trades or what?
So this is kind of the part where I do brag about myself, I fear.
Please. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, the short version is this. I've been a music producer since the early 90s. I'm also a touring musician and musical director. I do a lot of music for TV. I've done quite a lot of sometimes less questionable and sometimes more questionable casting show work. I mean, not as a contestant, but you know, like behind the scenes. Like not so ethical formats like DSDS, which is the German version of American Idol. Also more ethical formats like The Voice, which at least in Germany is very serious and very honorable.
Cool.
I would really happily attest to that. So I do a lot of music TV, and since 2 years, and that's also kind of the reason why I haven't done as many videos, I am the creative director of the so-called Pop Academy in Mannheim, Germany, which is very much like a unique institution. It's a state-funded institution, so it's not like a, oh, come and pay us money and we sell you dreams, but it's a very serious state-funded institution that educates you in all kinds of things that have to do with pop culture, pop music. There's also a little bit of gaming in there. There's music business department, so it's the Pop Academy. Look it up if you're interested.
Yeah,
it's great.
for sure.
It's a great thing.
So yeah, you've been busy. The answer is you've been busy. That's where the walkthroughs went, and we're trying to get them back to everybody, I guess. But I haven't taken a look at the new walkthrough video. I have to do so because I'm excited to have them back.
It's wonderful. Simon did such great work, and for me, it's kind of extra amusing this way because I basically talk into emptiness. And out of nothing manifests a walkthrough, which is, I mean, that's super nice for me as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we talked quite a lot about, yeah, what should happen here, what should happen there. You know, there's like, for example, there's a silly portion where we pretend to search for a trans synth sound and search through like a plugin that actually does not exist because we would not want to badmouth the competition. So Simon created an AI-generated fake plugin, and then we stepped through sounds that were like had no stylistic relation to each other. So of course you get trumpets and a cat and a bad recorder flute, and of course a little bit of rick-rolling as well. No walkthrough without rick-rolling. And you know, that's kind of the silly stuff. And in this case, instead of having to edit all this together and make it, I was basically really just dreaming like, wouldn't it be nice if this and this happened? And then he made it happen. So
nice.
My hats off to Simon. It's really, really wonderful like this for me.
Yeah, and Simon is usually the one behind the UJAM account in the chat during these streams. Sometimes it's someone else, but I think mostly it's Simon. So if you want to thank Simon yourself, tag him in the UJAM chat, in the video chat. And go watch the walkthrough video again and know that it was a collaboration of those two great minds.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lots of love for Simon, please.
Absolutely. So yeah, someone's asking, we are doing a giveaway. Every live stream we try to give away something. So the newest release is the next gen bundle for Usynth. So those are the titles Dust, VORTEX, and WEBCORE. So we are giving away, I believe, 2 copies of those for this stream. And the way you get entered is by being active in the chat, either showing your support or asking questions. And then your name automatically gets entered into a raffle behind the scenes, actually also by Simon. So again, thank you, Simon. And then he'll announce towards the end who won the licenses and how you can get in touch to claim your reward. And again, if time permits, after we review the submissions for the contest, we could take a look at those Usynth titles. I myself have not spent very much time with them, so it could be fun. But yeah, I think with that being said, I think we can dive into taking a look at our submissions for the contest. And Derek,
absolutely.
Derek, since you were involved in the voting, while I switch the scene over, I might ask you for a little overview of like what was required of people, just a reminder of like what the contest was. And I'll pull up this session.
So basically the briefing was be 80s, you know, like have it like an 80s style. Now, doing something in an 80s style, that's kind of a very random and very wide bracket of things that you could possibly do. So a little more precision was added by basically relating to the spooky synth side of 80s, which these days people would mostly relate to Stranger Things. Back in the day, me being of that age, I would say like, yeah, it's the poltergeist kind of stuff, you know. So essentially imagining that you would make like a score for some spooky Spielberg movie, you could just say, you know. And the 80s had like a very particular tone as far as that's concerned, which also I think is kind of the reason why Stranger Things works so well.
Yeah.
And
of course it's in celebration of Stranger Things season, right? The new season's coming out in a few days, I think.
I hear it's coming out, and I'm super scared of being spoiled. So
yeah, don't talk. Yeah,
I don't want to hear anything about it because I'm watching.
Yeah. I'm excited as well. We gotta tune in for that.
Yeah.
So I do think a lot of the songs here will probably be inspired by that kind of essence of the what are they called? Who were the artists that made the score for that? I forget. Anyway,
for Stranger Things,
yeah,
you mean?
yeah.
It's one guy. I've seen videos where he shows like his process, but I don't remember his name.
Yeah, I forget as well. But
yeah,
anyway,
I could have prepared that. I'm sorry.
No, I mean it just came up. Yeah, I think it's all like analog hardware, right? It's all analog synths and stuff.
Yeah, and as far as the competition rules are concerned, the thing you were supposed to do was like anything synth should have been the fittingly named Stranger Usynth.
Yeah.
And because it's also retro, people were also asked to finish a retro in one form or another.
Yes.
And anything else, you know, like drums, whatever, that was all completely free for all. You could use whatever you want. But synths should be based on the Stranger Usynth. And I can tell that I can already spoil that since I really, really liked all the stuff that was sent in. I mean, I'm an 80s kid, so for me, this is like really close to my heart. I kind of took myself the freedom to be kind of nerdy about like, I wasn't so much judging and rating stuff based on like, how good is this? But more like, how much does it nail this very particular poltergeisty vibe?
Good to know. Yeah, good to know.
Anyone who thinks like, this is really not nice that I wasn't part of the top 10 or top 5, forgive me. It was really, I mean, at some point you have to decide for some kind of parameter by which you judge the stuff. And my parameter was the poltergeistness of it all.
Of course. Yeah, okay. That makes sense for me because I haven't heard anything. I was really outside of the whole contest, so I didn't even know. So the requirements were to use Stranger for your synths and to use retro somewhere, somehow, and to position the song in this nostalgic 80s kind of atmosphere. So
yeah, exactly.
So that being said, let's start listening to, and so while I prepare them here, I mean, well, they're prepared, but the voting process, so there were a couple people voting on the tracks. Derek, you were one of them. Peter Gorgas was one as well, our kind of Usynth mastermind and co-founder of UJAM. And then there was another guy, Ryan Baxter, who I don't personally know, but I think he's a sound designer. We've collaborated with him. He might have made a video for us or something. So you three, and then also Simon. Did Simon vote as well?
No, as far as I know, it was just the three of us.
So the three of them voted. Basically, they had a certain amount of points they could distribute after listening to all of the entrants. And the top scores were added up among the three votes, and that's how our order is decided. And so what we're going to do here is play from number 10. So this one's revealed already. It's called Strange Times by Maeve. And as I scroll through them, we'll be revealing who got these places. So number 10 is visible here, Strange Times by Maeve. I think what we'll do is play the song for about a minute or a minute 15 seconds before saying anything, just because we don't want to be jumping in and cutting off a person's track. And at that point, just so it's fair, then we are able to say something that comes to mind if we have feedback. And I think also we will be pretty honest. I think that's the beauty of a contest like this, is that you get publicly reviewed. If there's things that we love, we'll tell you. If there's things that we didn't like so much, I think we'll also tell you, because learning is, as a musician, learning is important as well. But these are all top 10, so I'm excited because I think they're all going to be pretty cool. So
yeah, and also just for the record, I've listened to all the tracks up to the very end. It's just also my belief that like we shouldn't listen to more than 70 seconds just to keep the stream somewhat snappy, or else with 10 tracks to listen to, we're going to be here forever. So
of course,
but I've listened to everything right to the end.
Yeah, when they voted,
just so people know.
When they voted, they listened to the entire song and every single song, all 160 whatever. So you did definitely get your fair shot at the contest, which is great, knowing that whenever we do future contests at UJAM, you can trust that will happen. So let's start with this one here. I'm going to play it, and about a minute or so later, we'll start giving some impressions. So again, this is Strange Times by Maeve in number 10, placing 10th. Okay, I'm going to open up the floor for some comments, because that was a good little... We heard a couple fluent movements through this track. Derek, anything come to mind already? I've got a couple thoughts.
Yeah, so if it looks weird that I look a bit to the side, I have like extensive notes for all the songs, so I can basically put it all out there. So I love the sweeps in the beginning, although with those sweeps, one thing that I felt after a while was like they became slightly repetitive, I would say. And also on here, that's like one of the reasons. It's actually a perfect example for my voting scheme. I don't know what priorities Peter and Ryan use, so this is just me. The whole pad atmosphere, as nice as it was a bit more 90s than it was 80s from as far as the whole vibe was concerned. I loved the main sequence, really nicely aged. I very much like the bass entry.
Yes, me too.
Like
that was on mine.
When the bass comes in, that was really, really nice. So it's super nicely spacey and stuff, but it's not quite as spooky, I would say. And also for the really hard nerds is that... So there's a little bit of a mistake in the scales that were used, which is either a slight mistake, like for example there's like a major 7 on the 5, or it's art, so I'm not really going to judge.
Could be art always. Yeah. So yeah, from my end, so just for context, feedback I'm going to be giving is not so much the dating and the nostalgic element, because I don't really know, I didn't grow up in the 80s. So I will just be commenting on kind of just the vibe of the song, maybe the mix and the flow. I really like Derek said, the bass entry and the groove when the drums come in. It might just be like a 4 on the floor or like a halftime simple drum groove, but with the bass on the upbeat, it really kind of grooves well. I thought that it could have, and this is also another bias of mine, I always work with like pop and EDM, so I'm really ADD, but I felt that it took quite a while to get to that simple beat drop. And some of the cool like synthy like what were those stabs at the beginning coming from Stranger, those like pitchy stabs, those were cool, but they seemed like almost an unnecessary out of context piece that could have brought me to the main idea quicker if they weren't there maybe. But that's all I can say. Then mix wise, I mean, I'm sensitive to bright sounds, and that little hi-hat thing was a little bit irritating to me, a little bright, but I really like the groove, and I could see how this ended up in top 10 for sure.
I love the whole groove, and you know that's
Yeah, it's cool.
that was very much 80s nailed in a nutshell. And also, since we're not listening up to the end, like there's also a really nice pad outro, which we will not listen to now, but
yeah, we don't
really nice and spacey synth sounds. Just a bit less spooky 80s and a bit more bright and flourishing 90s.
Sure. Yeah,
so
and I'm
according
sure,
to my my internal rule set.
I'm sure that we will post these top 10 publicly somewhere so that you can maybe on SoundCloud, so you can go in and listen to the full tracks, because I do think they deserve the full attention, but we're just already tight for time. Yep. So congrats again, Mave, or is it Malv? Oh, it might be Malv. I'm sorry, M-A-L-L-V. Malv, for your submission, Strange Times. Congrats on 10th place. So with that, we will move on to number 9. Yep. So falling into 9th place, we've got Steve Corbera, just titled Synthwave Contest. So I'm curious what this is going to be about. Let's give it another minute 15 of a first listen, and then we'll check in.
Yep.
And again, if you're tuning in, we're reviewing the submissions to the Spooky Synthwave Contest. The top 5 places win prizes. We're on number 9. We're revealing them as we go down the list. If you're active in the chat or asking questions, you can also be entered into a raffle for the live stream, where you can win the next gen Usynth bundle. So let's listen to Steve Corbera's track for the contest. Whoops, I got to solo the right track. That's my bad. Okay, I'm going to start off with a comment and then hand it to Derek, because I think he'll know this better than me. This one, to me, feels to nail that aesthetic better. I already kind of I'm hearing patterns and things that remind me of the Stranger Things like theme score, which is cool. And it has that kind of iconic like snare essence that I associate with the 80s, whether it's genuinely 80s, that's something Derek can speak to. But I do like, this feels more evolving, but the theme is really coherent. It feels spooky and 80s to me. And that's about all I can say. I do think it's a cool listen. The ideas change gradually, keeps it a little bit more rolling and interesting. But the only critique I have is that the mixing feels a little discombobulated, just level wise. Like the balance of loudness between drums and synths and individual drum elements feels a little unfocused to me, but the actual composition is really cool, and I think that it probably nails the aesthetic. But Derek, what did you think?
Are you saying that people were slightly unfocused in the 80s? That cannot be. I'm sorry. So, yeah, it's kind of funny that I get to play the 80s police in this whole stream, but I mean, yeah, well, I think that's... So I absolutely agree. The 80s vibe is very much nailed. Really very, very, very much. That actually even includes kind of the perceived imbalance, because it's very much an 80s-ish imbalance. So in a way, I was snickering in the corner when I listened to this one. So I can say drums super 80s.
Okay, interesting.
Sounds super 80s. Intro completely super 80s. Also very much nailed the whole vibe that we're after, basically, or that I decided to make my deciding thing. I basically have only one thing. Oh, but, while I'm really cheering for it, there's also slight clap fills, and there's also there's this interaction between the pads and the bells that comes in at the end or later in the track, just when we stopped. That started. That's also super 80s. There's one thing that I have to. It's not criticizing, but it's more like a feedback constructive feedback that I'm trying to give, which will come up repeatedly in this feedback session, and that is that none of the elements decide to be a hook.
Yes, yeah.
It's it's all rhythm. It's everything is kind of a rhythmic pattern. Everything is I'm the companion of something, and that's a very easy mistake to make when you're doing instrumental music, because you're basically assuming there is a vocal gonna come in at some point. But since we are discussing something like this in the status quo as it is, if you don't have a vocal coming, then something needs to take the main lead character. And this is that's a pattern that's gonna happen very often in the top 10 even, that basically all the parts are kind of doing something that really complements the other stuff, but nothing seems to have quite the courage of saying look at me, and please look at me only. And
I agree with you, and I was about to say something, but I never know if it's just a relic of my own personal bias, because usually it is, but anything that's more progressive or unevolving or not super catchy melodically or something, I always attribute that to being that I personally like pop and EDM, so I try not to speak on that. But if you felt it too, then maybe there is some merit to that feedback. Is it's only evolving. It doesn't kind of ever fall into place in a way that kind of can hook you a little.
It's at the end of the day, nobody's ever right about this kind of stuff. It's all very subjective. My personal belief is that even if you're playing a rhythm part, there's always, I always try to have a thing where I say even a rhythm part should have a character giving face, imagine you would play eighth notes on a guitar, so you play ding 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 ding. It's already way more interesting and more like a composition if you make ding 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 ding, if you do some little edge, something that says I want to be more than just a servicing eighth note guitar. I want to have some special thing about myself. So even if you're doing rhythmic work, it's always good to think about is there some extra compositional edge that I can give, or is there just is there wasted hook space or not? Here there's lots of space for a hook that was not used.
Yeah.
But anything else, I love the whole atmosphere and the sound. It's all awesome.
I agree. +1. The aesthetic is nailed. So congrats again to Steve Corbera for placing in 9th place in some total of out of 150 or so. I don't remember the exact number, but scooting on to number 8, we've got Marcanix 86, and it's called UJam Dark Synthwave. So let's take another listen and let's hear what we've got for number 8.
You'll need to solo the drum.
Oh, that's the wrong one. Yep, that was the same one.
That's what we just listened to.
Here's the next one. Here is Marcanix 86 entry.
That would have been super fun if we hadn't noticed.
Okay. Derek, any first thoughts?
Yes, we should listen to another 20 seconds because
Okay.
it kind of changes here very much,
let's
and
do
this
that.
is kind of important. All right, it wasn't quite 20 seconds, but still. So, I will make it in reverse order this time because I just noticed you cheer stuff on and then you end with what you didn't like so much is kind of a downer. So let me turn this around.
Cool.
Things that I think could be improved is the drums are kind of thin. They're very much in the background. And again, this can also be just like an artistic statement. There's lots of songs that basically say like, no, I don't want my drums to be super fat.
Mm-hmm.
Leave me alone with that. I want other stuff to play like the lead role. So, but in this case, considering that we are very much like in this very particular aesthetic, I would say objectively the drums could have been more upfront. That's a thing that I would criticize. There's something going on in the trebles a little bit, which is, well, you never know these days. Maybe it's paranoia. It's a little bit of an AI-ness to some stuff. But what I really like, and that's the reason why I had you play a little more, is this thing had a hook right there when we stopped. And it not only was a hook, it was a hook in the lower octave, which is a very Depeche Mode-ish kind of thing. It's not like the super happy, look at me in the high range with lots of reverb and delays and stuff, because that's very much like a 90s Euro dance kind of thing. But it was more like a weird, I cannot sing, forgive me, but like in a low octave, and it's kind of mid-rangey, and it's just a very weird color to use, and that instantly put me back in like me in front of a Depeche Mode record in the 80s. So I very much love that.
Yeah.
So as far as that's concerned, that's really nailed. And in the beginning, there were partially little sine wavy things that were a little bit reminiscent of the X-Files, which is strictly speaking totally 90s and not 80s. But I'll file it under spookiness, so fair enough.
Yeah, from my end, similar notes. I'll start with the critique. The drums were the only thing I didn't really vibe with, because my first impression was that maybe the pattern was lacking. It wasn't really contributing to the groove, but then the more I listened, it was just the weight of them. I think some combination of those two things. If they had been a little punchier and kind of helped drive the track a little, they didn't seem to pull their weight really. They kind of just felt like they were layered in there, which maybe was your decision on purpose. But I do really like the aesthetic. This one felt more cinematic to me. It was like evolving, and it always had this some new section to allow you to breathe again, whether it was like totally granulated synth abstract sounds or like just things coming at you in a stereo sense. I really liked like the pacing of just like very cinematic to me. It felt like a score, something that keeps you on your toes, is never exactly the same, but is consistently the right aesthetic. So I did like all that. So again, congrats for placing number 8, Marcanix 86. We're going to move on to number 7. Everyone in the chat, we're reviewing top 10 submissions. The top 5 places have won prizes, which we will announce. We've gone through 10, 9, and 8. We're moving on to number 7. If you want to be entered to win the Usynth Next Gen Usynth bundle with VORTEX, Dust, and WEBCORE, just be active in the chat, and your name will get entered into the raffle. We're giving out 2 copies. So moving on to number 7, we have Daniel Oakfield with a track called OK Boomerang. So let's give it about a minute 15, minute 20 of listening, and then let's open up for comments. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I've got a gut feel already. Starting with critiques, and then I like that rising into the appreciation towards the tail end, because there's a lot I do like about this track. The only thing I don't really like is, well, for one thing, I don't know if this hits the aesthetic of the 80s. I'm not the best judge of that. To me, this feels more like a proper dance track, which I like. So it's kind of a critique, but it's something I like. But then the only other critique I had was the only thing that felt a little missing to me, based on my personal belief, is a melodic hook. Like, it had a couple of repeating note half-step things going on that would repeat and then change a little bit and kind of talk to different instruments. But I was kind of missing like some more meat to the melody melodically, just a little more like, oh, this is a brand new section with like a ton of an emotional statement or something. The melody felt a little missing for me. But what I did like was the punchiness of the drums. The kick was very thick. This mix felt a lot more tight and honestly more modern, which may have hurt the ranking in terms of it being an 80s contest, but to me, I like the track better when it's thick and full and groovy. The groove with the drums and the bass was really strong. And in general, right from the start, I was more hooked than some of the ones we've heard so far. So I do really think it's a strong production, pretty clean mix. Just melodically, I would have liked a little bit more of a story emotionally in there. But Derek, what did you think?
So the whole thing, like when you have lots of tracks with very good craftsmanship, that's exactly the thing. You have to go for some subjective things. So I would like to preface my feedback with, first of all, Daniel Oakfield is like an absolutely excellent artist name for an 80s artist, which I guess is a coincidence, but yeah, so Daniel Oakfield, that already sets like a framing, which is like, yeah, awesome. And also titling your song Okay Boomerang is kind of a thing where I'm thinking like, okay, fair enough. Although, for precision's sake, one would have to say like 80s kids were Gen Xers, but since Gen Xers are slowly becoming the new boomers, so I guess that's fair enough. I'm going to start with the things that I would critique on this, and that's pretty much what you said. This is a 90s track very much based on like the rhythm section. I mean, it's the choice of drum sounds. It's the way they are mixed. Also, for example, you hear the intro and it's nice and it has these vibey bells, which are super 80s. And the drums come in and then there's a little bit of offbeat ducking going on a pad. There was no such thing in the 80s. In the 80s, I mean, people use ducking, but not for the offbeat trope that's been introduced like sometime in the 90s. So based on my own, I know kind of arbitrary parameters, I would have to say like, oh, you ducked your pad. That's a minus. I'm sorry. You have to change by something. What I really, really love is the bass. The bass is super, super 80s-ish. I would presume it's slightly bit reduced or at least slightly aged in some way. Those bell hooks, they're also super vibey. And I get what you're saying. They're like not exactly like a full-on hook line, but they at least have like more like a presence, like they play a main role.
Sure.
Of course, you could always argue like from a compositional standpoint, it could be more hook-ish or not, which is kind of a thing that also goes with the 90s versus 80s thing. One critique that I forgot is it's very much a club track in that it stays in one key very long, while the 80s were madly in love with chord changes.
Yeah.
Like listen to almost any 80s pop tune, and from today's standpoint, there's almost an insane amount of changes. I mean, if you listen to something like Nick Kershaw, that guy, pop music from back then was like modulating all around the circle of fifths like a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And this was basically like a club track that's on one root note, and that's it. But very well mixed, almost to your disadvantage in a way.
Yeah. Okay.
But really nice.
Congrats, Daniel Oakfield, on placing 7th. We have to keep moving here because we are running out of Derek's time. So I want to make sure everyone gets Derek's feedback publicly out there. So number 6, we've got Surf. With their entry for the Usynth Stranger Synth competition. So Surf, congrats on ranking number 6. Let's take a listen and see what you got. Cool. That one's actually shorter. We reached the end of it. Derek, do you want to go first?
Yes, love it. This one obviously takes the whole Stranger Things-esque briefing very literally, which fair enough. You know, I mean, we asked for this, so that's fair enough. I love the vibe totally. There's like a tritone which very much nails the whole 80s spookiness kind of thing. You know, like tritones always help with that. And I also very much love just what we just heard at the end. You know, like there's like a nice pause. Already the first pause is like a very good dramatic move to be done, and then the end, the bass comes in, and you know, like it's a short of dung, 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 and you feel like, yeah, now bring back the drums, and then the track ends. But since it's already just like a short thing to send to us, I would assume like in a official 3-minute length, the drums would have come back in there, and that would have been absolutely awesome. A critique, forgot to start with the critique. From a mix engineer's point of view, there's a little bit of stuff stepping on each other's feet. In the low frequency spectrum, I would say like around 200 hertz, there's a little bit of like conflicts going on. And also, since you use that tritone, I was super impressed, like, okay, tritone was used, and later on there's like a synth hook that also takes the tritone in account, but your main Stranger Things-esque hook does not take the tritone in account. You know, like you stay with da 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 da. It should have been da 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 da. You know, like it should have gone along with the tritone. So that was kind of a slight clash, but that's all the music nerdy critique that I have to offer there. Cool.
Yeah, from my end, starting with critique first, I wasn't a huge fan of how closely the synth resembled the Stranger Things thing. I mean, it is a literal interpretation of the contest, but to me, I was kind of just feeling like I was hearing the actual theme. But the essence was on point. It felt like the positioning. It was spooky. It was one of the more spooky tracks we've heard so far, I think. The only other thing I wasn't too fond of was the transitioning between the phrases. Like at this break at the start, I felt, for example, that was a little long. I was kind of waiting for something, and then a lot of the transitions seemed a bit abrupt to me. I personally prefer some more buttery transitions that feel more natural, but I do think the positioning was nailed. The aesthetic, as far as I could tell, was also pretty spot on, and it definitely felt the most spooky out of what we've heard so far. So congrats to Surf for placing number 6th in the contest.
It was very much our poltergeist heroes jumping into a car, fleeing from a crazy, supernatural power. So, you know.
Okay, so with that, let's move on to number 5th, which is the first place that will earn a prize. So number 5th is Time T. Time T18602. I think that's your name. If that's an account or something, we'll make sure we link up with you. But so in 5th place, you won the intro bundle, the UJAM intro bundle, and the Rhodes V-Rack. The intro bundle, I forget what that contains. Let me open it up real quick. the intro bundle is 10 plugins for $49. Is that correct? Yeah, it's 10 plugins. It's got virtual drummers, beat makers. It's like a good introduction to UGM products, and there's 10 plugins. And then you won the Rhodes V-Rack. So congrats. Let's take a listen at what got you in 5th place. Okay, I'm going to jump in quick with some comments. So this one is really, really cool. I don't know if I have any specific critiques for it. I think that it hits the nail on the head with the synthwave, with the spooky. It feels very spooky scoring, like Stranger Things, but without kind of feeling like it's ripping on the exact ideas, which I like a lot. And then there was some sound early on that was like a down sweep that kind of sounded like a synth or a pitchy thing, and it actually reminded me of a specific sound they use in the show too, like this kind of like spooky impact thing. There's a lot of cool detail in this track. The texture, like the noise layer that comes in every so often, like it's only in certain phrases, it's not throughout the whole song, which I appreciate a lot. And I really liked how the drums came in filtered, and they weren't abusing my ears. They were nice and filtered and retro feeling, which was cool. And some of the melodies, like that brighter synth later that played that kind of glidey melody, those were really cool melodies and really cool sounds. I don't have much criticism. I think it hit the nail on the head. If anything, some of those synths were a little bright compared to the filtered drums. Could have been a little bit more cohesively filtered or EQ'd to feel like it was the same universe, but that's definitely a palette thing. That's an artistic choice, and it still was effective. So yeah, props. Derek, how about you?
So I agree with everything you said. Since we're now getting closer to the number one, the critique is going to become shorter and shorter. I can already spoil that. So basically, my only critique is it's so close to really nailing it. There could have been a little bit more reverb and ambience. It's kind of drier than would be perfect for this thing. I would recommend to experiment a little bit with some dark and rather long reverbs. And it's actually almost too many ideas in one thing for its own good. It's like part of me thinks like, you got such a great idea here, milk it a bit more. And the track is very much like, I have this great idea, and then it's moving on. And I have this great idea, and then I have this great idea, and this one, which I totally respect, and I totally get the vibe. And, you know, and also you want to stuff many things into such a thing to show what you can do. But it's for like a proper release, I would recommend like take your great idea and give it some room to breathe.
Yep.
That's my only bad part. Anything else, there's lots of changes. The changes are super spacey. The changes very much nail like this 80s vibe, you know, like going from one half step down from minor to minor. That's a very classic 80s spookiness move. Lots of stuff like that. The drums are wonderfully used. maybe even a tiny bit too much, but really, really great. And there's dark gothic church bell sounds. It's super nice, super spooky. And yeah, I really just really love all the changes, and
Yeah,
that's
really,
all I have to say.
really great work. Time.
Oh, one more thing. Isn't it super funny that, like, if you listen to only the very first second of the track, it sounds like you're gonna listen to Van Halen's Jump? And then it goes somewhere completely different, which, yeah, I like that detail.
I wanted to find that
That's all I have to say.
I wanted to find that sound real quick. It's somewhere in there. I don't want to waste too much time. But that
great synth sounds. What kind of synth is this?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Very cool. So congrats again to Time T18602 for ranking number 5th and winning a prize of the UJAM intro bundle and the Rhodes V-Rack. So congrats again. Our support team will coordinate the license transfer. Okay, so number 4, we've got Luca ELXAR. I think that's all the same name. And then the track name is Red Moon on the Dungeon of Demons. I like that there's a full track name there. That's really helpful to paint the picture. So,
and I'm super thankful that you have to read the names, because for the life of me, I wouldn't dare to do.
And so 4th place wins also the Rhodes V-Rack, but the Select 5 UGEM bundle, which means that you pick, I think that means you pick any 5 UGEM plugins. So you're getting 5 of your choice from the UGM catalog and the Rhodes V-Rack for ranking number 4th. Let's take a listen and hear how you got there. Okay. Derek, thoughts?
All right. So, most important critique. There's like a pad note at the low spectrum, and the pad note does not go along with the bass changes later on. That's a clear mistake. So basically, like, you're playing, I don't know what it was. Was it an A or something? Yeah, it was an A. So you're playing like an A, and it's, you know, there's like a root key A, and you stay on the A, but later on the bass starts going like A, E, F, D, something like that, and the low pad note does not go along, which leads to like super narrow intervals in the super low bass range. You're not doing yourself any favors with that. I guess it's probably just a case of having it overlooked, because it's really super low frequencies. You probably wouldn't hear it on a laptop. But there's like a low pad note that's not going along with the bass changes. It absolutely should.
Yeah.
That's my one critique or like feedback of stuff that needs to change. The other thing is like they're ducking again, which is completely the right move for the part. I would have to give a little minus because it's not something you would have done in the 80s. But since all the rest of the stuff so much nails the spooky 80s atmosphere, also with those sound effects, also all the things that play have the ambition to be a hook. There's kind of a call and response going on. All that is really super awesome. So
Yeah.
well done. It's really basically like, to put it down to one thing, make that low pad note go along with the bass, or else your bass spectrum is really just super crowded.
Sure. Yeah, from my end, not much to critique. There were a couple of sounds that startled me a little bit, like volume-wise or brightness-wise. There was some like effect that came in early on that kind of took me off edge a little. But I do really like and appreciate.
But that's what they should do, don't you?
Yeah. If it's spooky, I mean, it is. Maybe that's the intention, and sure, that's spooky for sure. I like the use of like there was some kind of yelling or like chanting later on. That was really cool. I really applaud the creative sampling to achieve the vision. And mix-wise, this was a very full track. I almost at times thought it was bright, but I can appreciate that it was very bright without being too overburdening. Like it was mostly still balanced and it felt really full. The low end felt full, the brightness was there. It wasn't just like filtered just to filter. So I can appreciate that, and it definitely felt synthwavy to me. It hit the nail on the head for the positioning, I think. So I was entertained listening to it throughout. So congrats to Luca for your 4th place win and for winning the UJAM Select 5 bundle and the Rhodes V-Rack. Let's chop on to number 3. We've got Ludwig with a song called Midnight Transmission. So congrats, Ludwig. You've won in 3rd place. You've won the Select 5 bundle as well, so you get to pick 5 UGM plugins. You've also won the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials bundle, which I am just opening up now. So they've got a Synthwave starter kit that includes, I think it's their synth plugin. Yeah, BA1 synth with 5 preset packs. So that's cool. And you also won the Rhodes V-Rack as well. So same as number 4, but with the Baby Audio Synthwave pack. So let's hear how you landed number 3. Okay, I'm going to stop it there and go really quick before Derek because I don't have any critiques. I don't know synthwave very well, but my brain is telling me that this is iconically synthwave. I really like the quick bass hits and the punchy drums. It feels very 80s synthwave to me from what I know. It feels perfect to the positioning. The mix is full and clear. And what I liked about this one is compositionally, note-wise, it felt more like a song, like there was more of a song vibe, like things were changing, the motifs were changing. It was kind of telling more of a story while still nailing that spooky synthwave essence. So I don't really have any negative critiques for this one. I think given the positioning of the contest, it was pretty spot on from what I heard. Derek?
Very much agree with everything you said again. So yeah, the 80s police approves. So your brain was telling you the correct thing.
Nice.
It's that thing. I mean, here you have a synth that really dares to be a hook line, you know, And so that was really nice. It's kind of, you know, like it's kind of a hybrid analog kind of synth lead. That's also a very 80s-ish thing. These early analog digital hybrids, super nice. Love the not ducked 16th note bass, going gang, 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 almost like an electronic body music kind of drive in the low end there. Really super nice. I wrote down that later in the track there's a few elements that kind of give away that somebody had to restrain himself a little bit, because there's a 90s-ish snare drum fill. You don't have to listen to it. And even like a fusion-ish solo for a moment where I thought like, that's more 70s. I need to give this a minus for this. But also, shout out, there's a really nice outro. It's like a very composed outro, really nice. Overall, just great track, completely nailed the whole 80s vibe.
Nice.
Being spooky and pop appeal-ish at the same time. It's all really good.
Amazing. Congrats again to Ludwig for your submission, ranking 3rd out of over 140 entrants, and you won the Select 5 UJAM bundle, the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials bundle, and the Rhodes V-Rack. So let's move on to number 2. So second place is Shunai, I hope I said that right, with a track called Neon from the Other Side. So second place has won you the Select 10 bundle, so you get to pick 10 of your UJAM instruments or plugins. You also get the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials that we showed before and the Rhodes V-Rack. So the same, but instead of Select 5, you get Select 10. So let's take a listen to your entry and see how you landed second place. Okay, got to stop it there. That part I stopped it at was perfect. My favorite part. That this song, again, very clearly hitting the nail on the head with the theme. The drums, everything is full and punchy. Those tom rolls, those fills, those pickup fills are really cool. They're kind of like the traditional 80s tom rolls, but then when the drums kick in, that snare tone, something about the snare tone is like perfect. I really like and focused on the snare tone. Just the balance of the drum kit, it comes in really nicely and it grooves the whole track along. And then the way the synths evolve, they're not too stagnant. You have clearly some automations opening them up or like evolving them in a very analog way, very akin to Stranger Things. This might be the favorite track I've heard so far for myself. I don't have any critiques given the context of this contest. I think this track is very cool. Derek, how about you?
I find the cheeky Phil Collins reference with that tom fill is so funny. Love it. Although, again, small detail, right before the tom fill, there's a little moment of a little bit of a 90s-ish snare crescendo in front of it, where I thought like, oh my god, but it was really just like a short moment, so that didn't go for a minus for me. I have no minuses for this track. It's super nice. I particularly like that the drums are aged, but not too aged. They're like not quite full range, but full range enough. You know, like they manage to sound sufficiently hi-fi, but still like not 2025 hi-fi. That's a really fragile balance to hit, and I very much appreciate that. Lots of good ideas. Again, this is some hook material in there that really dares to be a hook. Super nice.
Yeah.
The whole arrangement is like nothing is too cluttered. It's all like everything has like its very good space, you know, like from a ranger's point of view. That part goes in that frequency spectrum. This part goes into this frequency spectrum. So very expertly done.
Yeah, people are saying in the chat, it's not second place, it's 1B. I like that. Very.
Oh, that's nice.
Very solid track. Congrats again to Shunai for your song Neon from the Other Side. And did I already say what you won for second place? I think so.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, so it's the Select 10. Yeah, you've got the Select 10, the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials, and the Rode V-Rack. And so before we play the winning track, I heard from Simon in the UJAM account that our raffled off winners have been selected for the live stream. So the following 2 users have won the Usynth Next Gen bundle with the 3 newest Usynth titles, which are VORTEX, Dust, and WEBCORE. Those users are River Mint Official, congratulations, and Esteban BA Music. You two have won those bundles. Connect with our support team. They might try to reach out to you. I'm not sure how the process works, but shoot them a message. They're in the chat now, so they can probably clarify how to get in touch with them. But so to finish this off, we've got our first place winner, which we're about to play. And the first place prize won the Music Creation Suite, which I believe is every UJAM product. They also won the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials, and they won the Rhodes V-Series bundle, which is different than the V-Rack. The V-Series bundle is the actual V8. I think it's the V8, the Rhodes V8 instrument, the electric piano. But so, yeah, congrats to...
You're basically being showered in toys.
Yeah. Zaibu, or Zebu. You won in first place with your song titled The Hunt. I like the name. That feels very fitting. Let's hear what you did. I'm very excited. Okay. Derek, would you like to go first, or would you like me to go?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
go ahead.
much, please.
Yeah.
So basically, in a funny way, this is kind of a track that has it all, as they say. You know, there's hook lines. There's a very much nailed 80s vibe. This, I mean, it's called The Hunt, and it's again like you very much think like, yeah, being in the car, being chased by some supernatural force that for some random reason is neon green. I don't know, and I absolutely love the atmospheric stuff, you know, like there's this one single note that's always kind of like bending. It's not quite pitch perfect, you know, it goes a bit up, it goes a bit down. There's that really nice bass line that like toys around with little chromatic steps. And just when you think, okay, but it doesn't have any changes, it goes completely to like Changeland and runs through changes. The Stranger Things quote almost in the middle is super cheeky. I'm totally for like, yeah, fair enough. We asked for that. It's almost like he's like doing nudge, nudge, wink, wink kind of thing there.
Oh, yeah.
Drums are really nice. There's some really nice tutti break things like dun 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 dun, but then also with like tom fills over the accents. It's all so much fun. I just had fun listening to this one.
Yeah.
It had like virtues of all the other tracks all thrown in one, while still managing to not be too many ideas at once. I feel so.
Yes. Yeah,
I can say it was. I mean, the whole list was very close to the way I voted. This was my number one as well. So
nice.
Congrats.
Yeah, I agree heavily. I'm glad I decided to play the whole thing because it was the winner, and I'm glad I did, because this little cheeky fill ending was, I didn't expect it, and it made me like it even more. And I think what I liked about this track, obviously there's no critique for this from me. It clearly hits the positioning. It feels very unsettling. The thing I like about it is that somehow all of the synths and sounds that they chose to use felt a little bit different or off compared to a lot of the other entries where the sounds are almost so iconic that I feel like I've heard them before. These ones somehow felt a little bit like unsettling in a way, like they're a little
it's all a bit like
they feel like a little haunting, like they almost feel like what do they call it, uncanny valley, like when a human sees something that looks kind of human and it's creepy. That's kind of like these sounds look like the uncanny valley of those cliche sounds. Like they kind of are like a creepy version that, and then everything is evolving, and I like the Stranger Things, like I like what you called it, Derek, a quote. They quoted the original theme, because in one of the other entries where they used it a little bit more heavily, to me that felt a little cheesy, but this feels like a nod, which I agree with Derek. This is kind of like a gesture, like, oh, you wanted this? Here's a clean segue into the actual theme, which I'll then escape into my own thing again. And then the fills definitely felt like a show off. Like it was really clean, unexpected, but really fitting. And then even the ending here, when I thought the song was over, this is a good indication of how like everything is unsettling. Like they don't let you expect anything, but they're not over the top. Like this last piece.
And also,
like the fact that they put the synth there again. I thought the sweep was the end, and then there's notes again. There's creepy notes, you know.
And also the return of the initial bass line. It's a triumph, ladies and gentlemen. When that first bass line comes back in, it's a triumph. It's just wonderful. I love that.
Yeah,
that's really, really, really nice.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, personally, I would say like, yeah, and now bring back the drums and just ride the wave of that great bass line that you have there for a little more. It's fine the way it is, but like, I was like, when I was listening, I was like 2/3 in the track, I was like, I hope that bass line comes back from the beginning, because it was so nice. And then at the very end, like, there it is.
Yeah,
super nice.
Great,
I love this.
Great track all around, really fitting. The top tracks were all amazing. These were only the top 10 out of all the entrants, and there's definitely a lot.
And it's called The Hunt, and it sounds like a hunt. You know, it's
exactly. Exactly. That's very fitting. I really like this one. All of these were really fun. So again, congrats Zaibu for the win. You won the whole UJAM Music Creation Suite. You won the Baby Audio Synthwave Essentials and the Rhodes V-Series bundle. So that's the biggest prize that we offered in the contest. So congrats on hitting the nail on the head and getting the winning vote. And again, thanks to everybody in the top 10 and everybody that submitted. These contests are really fun. I liked hearing these for the first time. This was really fun to give feedback blindly. And Derek, it's great to have you face to camera for UGEM. That's very rare. I don't think it's ever happened. So it was really great to have you on board. And taking some time out of your busy schedule, which I think we're now late. I think you said you had to go. So
I need to go to, I mean, I'm missing a UGEM meeting right now, but I need to go to some,
okay.
There's like a Pop Academy event starting in about 8 minutes. So
okay, then you got to run. I will, on that note, everybody, thank you for tuning in. I'll end the stream here. Congrats to our winners. Get in touch with our support team for your prizes. And Derek, thanks again. I'm Adam. I'm a product owner at UGEM, and we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.
See you. Bye-bye.